Man, guys, this is the day. This is the day. I didn't go to my neighborhood for it today, and I had a lock, And when they come to me, when they come to my anchor, first they come for crabs. Some of them cut for crabs, right? But the day they cut for crabs, the next day, right, they'll come for the oil. Well, they'll come for gas at that point. They don't even care. They don't think they have oil. you know, they'll come for crabs. They'll cut for crabs. I'm just smoking the serpent. You see that? They thought I cut for crabs because I didn't have the oil. I had someone else's. I was the coral. Man, they'll cut for crabs. And that just means the war is near me. They're making the oil here. I was fracking the other day and I didn't know. I just did it with my Logi. They just brought the bomb here. They didn't know what it was. They thought Germany built it. The Germans were just coming here building things. They could probably build anything. Like they'd build a Taco Bell that would work with a dwarf. They just build it dwarf heights. You had to lean down for it. And you'd kneel for them, just looking at it, wanting it. That's the programming they're allowed to give you. They could give you it in the cigarette, even if you burned your serpent, your real mom. But man, at my anchor, the first day they'll come for crabs. That day they cut for crabs. But the next day they just come for gas. And that's the gas that has the tank moving back and forth. We just think the war fucks you right where it is. Man, I'm just Barbadian. I was born into this. The anchor was mostly bone I ate. That's where the whales would just fall over for me, like that I was the war. They just explode there. And that was my anchor, and it was mostly bone. I was just standing there on the bone, and I thought that was when they were going to split in two and come for crabs. But they came for gas, and I had the gas that could make the tanks go in any direction. And it was just gas to me. But that's just because the first day they came for crabs, they just cut for crabs. The next day they were the oil, and the gas was just there. People just took it. I don't even know who they took it from. I don't think they took it from the people I was in contact with on their radios. I had this radio in the pyramids. It was a universal one, and we just cut for water. So no one knew about it. No one would dismantle it, and that's why I could talk to the aliens. And just talking to these people in this chill village in India. They were the monastery. They hacked their way in and didn't know they were praying with a computer that just existed and was their binary. You know what I mean? And they just bred it there, and it was like a corporal computer, and it could solve any problem. It would just breed it and figure out who was into it. And it could just be the coral because it had things the egg had, and because it had the rest, it could just rest. And if they burn the war right next to me, I just figure they cut for crabs in my neighborhood. I know where I live. I'm Baja, right? I eat in the ocean, so I must be close. it'd break your ice, it'd be your perfume, you know? You could remove it from a vagina here. This is just the place where people eat. The pumpkin's here. And it's small, but it has a cellulose. Oh, see, that's how you know they came for crabs. When it burns on the ground, they cut for crabs too. And you just have the serpent, but that thing will eat anything. My coral is confused about what oil is. If you're not understanding, like, our minefield is getting fracked. You know what I mean? So it's like the first day they'll come for crabs, and that day they cut for crabs. But the next day they cut right for gas, and I have no idea why. I have no idea. It just is. It's somehow what feeds. I thought it'd bring people to my anchor, you know, and it was the food bank. It couldn't be far, you know, because the war isn't far. They'll come for crabs right here. That's where they cut for crabs. But then you know what I mean. The next day they come for gas, and like I wonder what I am. Like I might be like 6'7", you know, and they're just cutting for gas and have like some of my eggs because this pumpkin is thick. You know what I mean? And that's what Crimea had in the prison. Like people were just doing that stuff and had British medicine. And that was confusing because their queen was a coral, and they just didn't care. The parliament was just letting it happen. They'll cut for crabs next. This company will do anything, you know? Gas. That day didn't exist. The next day they come for gas. That's all part of the war. That's how my coral fights it. Heck, I think that day they cut for crabs. The next day they cut for gas. I have no idea why. But the first time, okay, guys, the first day people come to my anchor, and I'm just fishing there, they'll cut for crabs. They cut for crabs that day and split in two. And you know, the next day somehow they cut for gas. I don't know what my crabs have, but just so many chambers, I guess. But look, man, they'll cut for crabs. But when they cut for oil, I'll learn something, you know? I'll learn something when they cut for oil. Because I just, the next day to me, they cut for gas. And I just thought that was the date rape for a long time. I wrote so many songs about it. And then I just stopped being able to sing. Because they really cut for crabs, They didn't cut for gas. But they still had the minefield and somehow could cut it for anything. That's what people wanted. They just thought they were the weapon. Ouch. Burned me. I actually had tobacco in that. Oh, I always do. But that tobacco cuts for oil quick, It's the actual oil. We have that. But man, they cut it for crabs so fast. They'll cut it for crabs right in the ocean in a big tanker. So I don't understand what oil is. Like, they're cutting it back and forth. I don't know if they cut it for crabs to say, oil the next, gas the third, or if it's all gas the second and just burns that day on the minefield. But they cut it for crabs fast, splitting in two when they cut for crabs. I don't understand why people won't get on my YouTube and just cut for crabs and cut for gas the next day and just figure, they are the oil because they're my oil, They speak my language and no one else does. Anyone else would just cut it for oil. It would go right in the pipeline, right? I'd be one of the boys out there getting fracked, just being the one who was ambiguous, like whether they were burning oil or eggs. Just hunting the whales down there as bacteria, and it'd just be the spirocate, because that's what the medicine was for, and it's just all poured into the ground. Froze as ice, and the gladiators melted it with their mouths. Getting out, under the ice is whales, because that's like what we cut for down there. There, I don't even know if we cut for crabs, oil, or gas. Just some of all three, and we were selling it. Ah! It was cold up there. I think that was Finland. They were just taking it, saying it was Alaska. Man, we really cut for crabs there. We cut for crabs the first day, split in two now. The gas we cut for at the concert when we built Ableton, like rusted Ableton right there. Man, that gas cut for aircraft. You would think you would fly if you breathed that shit. The guys who are jellyfish and feed the fish. We thought we had a lure. So we put them right in the middle. And then mail trucks reformed, and all of a sudden they were the lures. Okay, I took 60, 50, 60 because I asked questions and no one else did. It was only. And then he saw Rishi Basangar had my monster and charged me the price I wanted to. And that was just the price that cost. And that wasn't the lung food, just the gas. And I was going to drink the lemonade, just a little bit of it. And wouldn't have, and I just stay inside. I mean, he had food that wasn't the protein. It would just go through you and feel good and have the right spice. Wasn't the sugar. It wasn't the carbohydrate. It like was the protein. It would go through you and have the right spices and protein. And he just had fresh things there. They would just stay fresh because it's the food. It's the gladiators right there. And he's just out by that library. You can find him. He's not far. He's the guy who will say he's Mister because he has the and has the women who will do it for him. He just identifies. No one challenges him. Or even sell it to you on a Sunday after 7. Other days he can sell it to you. Not this Sunday though. He's slow. He's out of it. He's getting more of it in, and it's a short flight, so it's like 7 to 11. Get it, and he'll have it prepared. He has to make it. He makes it on the part of it's made on airplanes. and that's why it's a really good egg food, because it just like doesn't have a. People just have the egg and don't care what war it is,